My name is Ryan. I plan advertising campaigns, essentially. That is my day-to-day job, mainly for sort of smaller to medium-sized companies at the moment in the Southwest region, but I've also worked on the likes of Wiltshire Farm Foods and a couple of other sort of national accounts. Part of Little Lightbulb, we are a full-service advertising agency. Me and John started out of our bedrooms just over 2 years ago, coming into our third year now. And so yeah, massive thanks to the Glove Factory for having us and helping us grow effectively. Bit of a cock-up initially. So this was originally called effective advertising, and the more that I sat and thought about this talk, the more that I thought that was a really wishy-washy term. And so I'm renaming it slightly to strategic advertising, and the reason being is essentially I want to get everyone in the mindset of thinking more strategically about their marketing and their advertising. So 1A, today I want to change your approach, the way that you approach your goal setting in your advertising, how you think about advertising in general, and your marketing. The reason being for that is, even since university, I remember in my last lecture studying marketing, my professor said to me, marketing needs greater accountability. It's often seen as an expense. It's often seen as, something relatively negative, and it's not often married up with actually effectively helping that business grow. And so if it's okay with you guys, I want to take you through sort of two parts to this presentation. The first part is going to give you a brilliant example of how advertising can be well implemented through effective research and planning, and then using creative work essentially to fuel sales targets. And so I'd like to start off with Sainsbury's. Back in 2006, Sainsbury's was going through a really rough time. We were sort of in the process of a recession. There were Aldi and Lidl that were killing it with the sort of budget brand stuff, really focusing on value, and they're still doing that even to today. And then there was Tesco, Waitrose, and sort of M&S that were towards the top end scale. And Sainsbury's just sort of sat in the middle, which is the last thing that you really want to do as a brand because you have no clear direction. And so what I'm going to take you through is a case study that they implemented to essentially bolster their sales and do it very effectively through advertising with an agency called BBDO. So this was the brief. Guys came in, sat down with BBDO, and they said, hey guys, we want to increase our sales by 2.5 billion in the next 3 years. So no small number at all. To put that in perspective, that is the equivalent of growing a brand 3 times the size of Pepsi UK or double the size of Walker's within 3 years. And this is where it gets even better. So the way in which they wanted to do that was to poach Waitrose and M&S customers. So you've got this huge, huge challenge from a comms perspective to be able to say, hey, we are Sainsbury's, we are better on quality than Waitrose, we are better on quality than M&S, and you should come and spend your time in our shop and shop with us as opposed to those brands that you already love. And so BBDO sort of stepped away, went and did their research and planning phase. And what they found through interviewing the customers of Waitrose, of M&S, was that actually, I like my quail's eggs. I'm very happy with my experience when I go shopping at M&S and Waitrose. That pretty much wrote off that strategy as a first. So the agency knew that we really have to challenge this brief. And the second part of research or insight that they gathered was they went out with Sainsbury's shoppers and observed them as they went and did their weekly shop. And I'm going to do a little test with you guys now. Hopefully it works, no technical issues. And I just want you to watch the video. Many of you may have seen this before, but some may have not. It typically works on about 50% of people. The term they coined was sleep shopping, and I just want to demonstrate what happened realistically.
Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball. How many passes did you count? The correct answer is 15 passes. But did you see the gorilla?
Okay, so hands up, how many people spotted the gorilla? Okay, yeah, about 50%, that's cool. So this was in reality what shoppers were doing when they came to Sainsbury's stores. They were going in, they were buying the same meals week in, week out, same ingredients, and you could almost plot on a map exactly where they would go. They know, like, short of a store layout change, exactly where that ingredient was, and they'd be really efficient in their process. But people weren't thinking about new meals. They weren't thinking about trying something new. And so they saw that as a potential issue in the campaign that they put forward. This is sort of the second part to that. So research aside, the planning process was to say, okay, about 2.5 billion, that's a hell of a big number, and really we need to quantify that in terms that can relate to us. We know that targeting new customers, trying to poach those Waitrose and M&S customers is a no-go, so we're really left with our existing customer base. So they broke it down. 2.5 billion divided by the 3-year target, 833 odd million. That breaks down into 16 million per week if you divide it by the 52 weeks, right? And Sainsbury's currently processed at the time 14 million transactions every week. So what the agency worked out was that in reality, all that means is each customer spending just an extra £1.14 in their shop. So they've taken a 2.5 billion target and they've broken it into, actually, we just need an extra £1.14 in our customers' baskets. And so this drove a lot of the campaign, and this is what I'm trying to get at in terms of changing your approach to advertising and looking at it at more strategic avenues. Try something new today. And I want to show you the campaign that they ran with Jamie Oliver back in 2006. And I'll just sort of talk at the end about what the core creative idea behind that was.
Most of us are asleep most of the time. Even when we shop, we're sleep shopping. Filling your trolleys with exactly the same things, week in, week out.
There's a million meals to choose from, so why eat the same ones again and again?
Remember the first time you ever tasted honey? Wouldn't it be great to taste something new for the first time every week? Use your imagination.
Use my imagination.
Use their imagination.
Be adventurous!
We're not talking rocket science. Next time you go to Sainsbury's, buy a nutmeg, grate it over your bolognese. See how easy it is? Go on, try something new today.
Okay, so try something new today. It was put a bit of nutmeg in your spaghetti bolognese. It was making really simple suggestions to the customer to, I don't know, grab some Lea & Perrins, or like just bring a few other ingredients very simply into their basket to get that extra £1.14 to achieve that sales target. And it wasn't just TV, you know, they rolled it out across recipe cards. They had point of sale goods within the supermarket to help guide the user to actually make that a reality. So the result, they achieved 2.8 billion in just 2.5 years, 6 months ahead, essentially, of their 3-year target. They got an extra 1.5 million customers, and profits were up 43%, 380 million. That's pretty impressive, wouldn't you agree? I mean, from a 2.5 billion target, which seems almost insurmountable, they broke it into, actually, it's just an extra £1.14, and we've achieved that 6 months ahead of time. To this day, I've not seen a better example of how effective research and effective planning can align the business objectives, the sales objectives, with advertising and creative to actually make it work.
Tuesday tea time again. Time to shake things up. Coconut flakes in a chicken stir fry? Ah, why not? Pasta bake with yogurt? Dollop it on. And green olives in a Spanish tortilla? Si, señorita. Now you're cooking. Who would have thought it? On a Tuesday. Little twist from Sainsbury's. Live well for less.
You know, it's one of the brilliant thing about this campaign is it influenced how they operate as a business moving forward. And they've actually done something very clever here in terms of, despite them making these suggestions to actually spend more and, you know, chuck those ingredients in, they've changed the strapline to live well for less. So the perception out actually is that you're spending less money, even though you're actually spending more. And this sort of takes me on to part 2 of what I want to talk about today, because I see it as a major issue facing clients and agencies and anyone that works in the creative industry in terms of targeting our audiences effectively. Typically, traditionally, we've always done it via demographics. So people's age, people's race, people's gender, household income. And it's a really, really, really terrible way of describing people and targeting people and segmenting people. So I want to do a little experiment here, just to sort of illustrate what I'm getting at. So, meet Mike. Mike has a mohawk. If I was to ask you what music Mike listens to, what'd you say? Rock, yeah, punk, something along those lines, okay. So if Mike, how does Mike dress? What sort of clothes does Mike wear? T-shirts, leather, jeans, cool. And so if Mike was to own a vehicle, what sort of vehicle would Mike own? What was that, Tom? Harley, motorbike, yeah, exactly. What the hell? I just told you that Mike had a mohawk. And you've built all of those associations from that one simple thing. And we do it all the time. We do it as people walking down the streets, and the really sucky thing is we do it as marketers and we do it as advertisers. And it does a really terrible job of describing people, just purely through demographics and those social norms. There's I love Family Guy, I love toilet humor, and these guys do a beautiful job of sort of just reiterating what I was just getting at, specifically from a race point of view.
Damn it, you guys are ruining Thanksgiving. And it's my second favorite holiday, right after Pretend Not to Notice People's Race Day. Hey, you seen Reggie around?
Which one is Reggie?
Oh, well, today he's wearing yellow pants, yellow shirt, yellow hat, yellow shoes. He's got a gold tooth, diamond earring. He's got that big necklace with a dollar sign on it. He's always grabbing his crotch when he's telling a story, like the one about when he found out his mother is really his grandmother.
Could you be more specific?
Let's see. He always wears cheap cologne, drives a Mercury Cougar with a crown on the dashboard, never pays his alimony. He's extremely cut for a guy who never works out. Oh, there he is. Thanks anyway. Hey, Reggie!
So the initial step towards sort of overcoming that is to target people's interests, people's psychographics. You know, I'm interested in swimming, but really that's just the sort of tip of the iceberg. And a lot of what industry thought leaders are pulling forward now is this concept of networks of people. And so, what are you talking about, Ryan? I'm talking about your friends. I'm talking about your families, your loved ones. I'm talking about your co-workers, these brilliant people here. Your teammates, societies. Networks influence our interests. And the way they do that is through shared beliefs, unwritten rules, social norms, rituals. And the reason that these groups of people influence our lives is because in the brain, we deal with social anxiety and essentially the breakup phase the same way that our brain processes emotional pain. When you get dumped or you're like kicked out of the group, it sucks, it hurts. You feel betrayed almost. And so we as people are constantly trying to adhere to the group rules. So please like me. No, please. So like taking me, I'm a Vaughan. I'm, you know, a car enthusiast. I'm a gamer, as John can testify, I play far too much of it. I'm a Man City fan, again, debatable. And I'm Laurie's partner. So if we take that and we move it a step forward, I am a Vaughan, and as a family, we believe in spending quality time together on a Sunday. And so therefore, every Sunday, I will be at my parents' place eating Sunday roast. That is a behavioural action that I partake in as part of the Vaughan group, my network of people, my mum, my dad, my sister, my brother. And it might be worth actually, guys, just spending, do you want to spend like 5 minutes just going through this exercise and seeing just very quickly like what groups you're a part of, what you believe in, and therefore what some realistic behavioural actions you partake in as a result of that. That could be like every game after a Sunday, if you part Sunday league football, you go to the pub with your teammates, and just get in the process of thinking about, you know, as a person, as me, what do I partake in? If we look at a quote from Alex Pentland, who's Professor of Social Sciences, our behaviour can be predicted from our exposure to the example behaviour of other people. So essentially, you act and do the same as the groups of people around you. And this is essentially called social proof. I'd like to show you another video here of just like the most basic form of that, which is absolutely brilliant. And a fantastic advert, by the way.
The gentleman in the elevator now is a candid star. These folks who are entering, the man with a white shirt, the lady with a trench coat, and subsequently one other member of our staff, will face the rear. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat tries to maintain his individuality, but little by little, he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more to the wall. Now we'll try it once again. Here's the candid subject. Here comes the candid camera staff, 3 of them at least. And this man has apparently been in groups before. Now, here's a fella with his hat on in the elevator. First he makes a full turn to the rear and Charlie closes the door. A moment later, we'll open the door, everybody's changed positions. Now we'll see if we can use group pressure for some good. Now, in a moment, on Charlie's signal, everybody turns forward. Notice they take off their hats. And now, do you think we could reverse the procedure? Watch.
Okay, so fantastic advert and a perfect way of illustrating how we adhere to social groups and networks of people. And that's what it's all about. It's all about behavioral adoption. It's all about getting that behavioral action as a result of your campaign. Goal setting, what do we want to achieve from this campaign? We're not just going to chuck money at it. You know, what's the return on investment, and how are we identifying the groups of people that interact with our brand? Thank you so much for that. That's exactly what it's all about at Little Lightbulb. We take a simple idea and we get people to do things. It's all about moving people through really creative ideas, informed by research, good planning, and strategy. I hope that was okay for everyone. It's my first one here at the Glove Factory, and thank you guys again. Absolutely brilliant.